Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. But more importantly, managing director of Tinnitus Classics. And it is my unbelievable, extraordinary pleasure to present a world premiere recording of the major Baroque music discovery of the new century. Of any century. It's Vivaldi's Six Concerti, Opus 13. Now, it's mostly believed that Vivaldi only published 12 opus numbers. Even though he wrote hundreds and hundreds of other pieces, they were never published in his lifetime. And of course, a lot of those were discovered, and Naive, the label, is doing a whole huge Vivaldi edition where they're going to get through all of this stuff, or at least most of it, until the world comes to an end or whatever happens first. But there was, in fact, a very, very rare print of Vivaldi's Opus 13. In fact, only one copy survives, and Tinnitus Classics has it. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Naive. See, the other 12 were all published by a guy named Roger, let's say it in French, in Amsterdam. He had the monopoly on publishing. All Corelli stuff was published there, and Albinoni and Spumoni and Tortoni and, the whole crew. They were all published in Amsterdam. But this particular series was not published in Amsterdam. It was published in Brescia, Italy, privately, probably for some noble person. Nobody knows. All that exists is the manuscript. And these are 6 violin concertos, and they are titled Il sei fase di uno fattimento. The 6 phases of a project, and each concerto has a title. The 6 phases of a project in English are, in case you were wondering, they are enthusiasm, disillusionment, panic, search for the guilty, punishment of the innocent, and praise and honors for the non-participants. Those are the very, very well-known 6 phases of a project. It's one of those, like the 4 seasons or the 4 temperaments or the 10 commandments or, all of that stuff. The 6 phases of a project were one of those tropes that runs through Western music like a little silver thread. And Vivaldi's Opus 13 contains 1 violin concerto for each of the phases. And they are remarkable works indeed, extraordinarily remarkable works. And for this premiere recording, we have, of course, Tinnitus Classics in-house Baroque ensemble. Now, normally, as I'm sure you're aware by now, when Tinnitus Classics does Baroque music, it's always on period instruments. We use our own Musica Urethra Baroque ensemble. But in this particular case, we felt that was inappropriate because, Vivaldi spent most of his career conducting an all-female orchestra at the Ospedale del Innocenti or wherever it was in Venice, that stuff. And so we have put together an all-female period instrument Baroque ensemble called Concerto Puttanesca. Now, Concerto Puttanesca, actually, this is the period instrument movement, right? So it's all the same people. They just change their names depending on what they're doing. It's like in the UK, you've got all the same people for the Academy of Ancient Music and for the English Concert and for the Hanover Band and for the they're all the same people. They just change their name depending on who they're recording for. In our particular case, though, I think we were far more woke and appropriate because we have an all-female orchestra consisting of all of the female members of Musica Urethra, but we've also not limited it to just all the, shall we say, standard female members. We've also included all of the members who identify as female and all of the members who happen to have been assigned the female sex at birth and the ones who were assigned the male sex at birth but are now female. They're all, and we're a very inclusive female period instrument ensemble. Let's put it that way. Musica Puttanesca did not want to be too choosy. And of course, the members of Musica Urethra wanted to work. And so now we have Concerto Puttanesca, the all-female Baroque ensemble performing these magnificent concerti. And I'm going to play you a little sample of each. The first is called Enthusiasm, Entusiasmo in Italian. And here we have Concerto Puttanesca playing the opening of that concerto. Major Vivaldi, I am sure you'll agree. Now, after Enthusiasm comes Disillusionment, the second concerto, which in Italian is non entusiasmo, naturally. And so here is the opening of non entusiasmo. Absolutely thrilling and intensely programmatic, as I'm sure you'll agree. So then we have Panic, which in Italian, of course, is panico. And panico is one of the most frenetic, obviously, of the concerti, and I think one of the most exciting. Actually, it probably is the most exciting of the six. And really, I think the major discovery in the set, and in my opinion anyway, here is the opening of Concerto number 3, Panico. I need to say this straight off. You know, there is a very scurrilous rumor going around that Vivaldi wrote the same concertos 600 times. You know, they always say that in music theory classes because he was regarded somewhat contemptuously historically. But the truth is his concerti are full of variety, as you can hear yourself, and extraordinarily descriptive and emotionally specific. And nowhere more so than in this fourth concerto, which is the most programmatic, well, second most programmatic, I think. It's extremely graphic. That's the search for the guilty. And that is in Italian the Cacciatori di Colpabile concerto. And here we have Concerto Puttanesca playing the Cacciatori di Colpabile concerto, the search for the guilty. isn't it? The music gives me a chill. It really does. And after The Search for the Guilty comes really, okay, the second most programmatic of all the 6 concertos, The Punishment of the Innocent. And The Punishment of the Innocent is, full of bitterness and irony, which is entirely suitable to the programmatic subject of the whole thing. So here's the opening of The Punishment of the Innocent, and the Italian for that is Chastisement del Innocenti. So this is the Chastisement del Innocenti concerto, and here's the opening. But of course, the Baroque convention of the time was not to, end a series of concerti on a dull or depressing or tragic note. It was simply not done. It was like in opera seria. There's always, the guy forgives everybody and everyone marries everybody else and they all live happily ever after. And that's what happens in this series of 6 concerti as well. So in this particular case, it's praise and honors for the non-participants, which in Italian is laudi e onore per il non partecipante. And here we have Concerto Puttanesca in the glorious finale of Vivaldi's Opus 13. Now, I know that you are all going to want this release. It will be out very, very shortly. I'll make a separate announcement about that, of course, because we'll be soliciting advance orders. We know that the demand is going to be so huge for this that we want to try and be as accurate as possible in the number of pressings. But of course, streaming services and all the major, sort of online facilities will also be carrying it. And you can go, of course, to the special Tinnitus Classics shop and order your copy right away. I think that it really is one of the greatest musicological discoveries, like I said, of the new century. And I am so honored that Tinnitus Classics has this opportunity to bring this deep and immensely rich and varied repertoire to the public for the first time. It was a real thrill, and I am not even going to tell you where we got this single surviving copy of the only printed edition of Opus 13, Il sei fase di uno progetto. That's it, or uno fattimento, or whatever it's called in Italian. My Italian is a little rusty. I really should have spoken to my brother-in-law before doing that because he's Italian, he's Milanese, and he probably could have helped me, but he's busy, and so I did it myself. But I think by the time the disc comes out, we'll have cleaned it all up. You don't have to worry about me. But I am just thrilled also to present the debut recording of Concerto Puttanesca, Tinnitus Classics, all female, or all those who identify as female, or all those who were assigned femality at birth. period instrument Baroque ensemble for our ongoing Vivaldi project. Because here's the big secret, my friends, there is more than just Opus 13 to come. There is, I'm not even going to tell you how many additional published opera there were, and no one else has them. So keep on listening, folks. Thank you for joining me. Tinnitus Classics thanks you for your patronage. Take care.